All right. Hello, everybody. It is great to have you all here today for our Associate Teacher Info session. Welcome. If you are just now joining us and have not had a chance to check in yet, please make sure that you are going to the link in the chat box and checking in before we get started. We will continue to post that link in the chat throughout the session. If you can just make sure that you've checked in by the end, that would be really, really great. So we are going to go ahead and get started. I am so excited to have all of you here with us today for our Associate Teacher Info session. First of all, I just want to say that I hope you and all of your loved ones are doing well and are safe during this time. If you are a senior, I hope that your semester is starting off as soon as possible. I know that there is a lot of uncertainty right now, and so I am just really appreciative of you all taking some time to learn about our program with us today. So just to give you guys a quick overview of what this session is going to look like, just going to start off right now with some quick introductions before we begin, and then I will move into a brief overview of our school, what our teaching looks like at our school, what we really value here at Brooke Charter Schools. I'll spend a little bit of time digging into the Associate Teacher Program, sharing a little bit more about what that program looks like here, and then we're going to spend the majority of our time in a panel discussion hearing from some former associate teachers about their experiences here at Brooke and in the AT program. So just to start, to introduce myself, my name is Sadie. I am probably the one that has been emailing and communicating with you all a lot. I manage the Associate Teacher Program here at Brooke Charter Schools, which basically just means that I do all of the recruiting and hiring for our associate teaching positions. And then I also do a lot of work with our current associate teachers through things like professional development and observations and feedback. Essentially, my role is really just to help make sure that all of our associate teachers have the most positive and productive year possible so that they really feel prepared to hopefully move into their own classrooms as lead teachers the following year. And I actually started here at Brooke as an associate teacher myself back in 2012. I then had the privilege of teaching at our Mattapan campus for the next 5 years. And for 4 of those years also had the privilege of being a mentor teacher and working directly with an associate teacher in my classroom, coaching and supporting them. And then I transitioned into this position 3 years ago, managing the program. So I'm really passionate about the associate teacher program and really excited to get the chance to share a little bit more with you about this program today. Just a heads up before we continue, I wanted to let you know that I'm joined today by Nicole Grandinetti, who is the Director of Talent Recruitment here at Brooke. She is going to be in the chat today and in the Q&A box, answering any questions, supporting with any tech difficulties. So if you have questions or concerns as the session continues, feel free to pop them in the chat box and Nicole will be happy to follow up with you about them. So Brooke Charter Schools was founded back in 2002, and we are a network of 5 public charter schools here in the city of Boston, Massachusetts. So we have 3 K-7 campuses located in Roslindale, Mattapan, and East Boston. And all of those campuses feed into an 8th grade academy and a high school, which is housed in the same building in Mattapan. And we do place associate teachers at all of our campuses and across all of our grade levels. Before we move on, I also wanted to just give you guys a quick little update on what our school year is looking like right now during the COVID-19 pandemic. Because of the current health and safety risks posed by COVID-19, we have begun this school year with a fully remote learning model for all grades, except for a small number of students who require in-person support. And we made this decision through feedback from teachers and families, and that feedback really pointed us in the direction and then to this idea that remote learning is the best option at this time, although we are definitely really hopeful that at later points in this year and certainly next year that we will be able to transition back to an in-person model. Based on kind of some of the lessons that we learned from last spring when we had to go fully remote, we know that everybody really needs, increased structure and predictability in order to thrive in a remote learning context. And so while last spring we kind of relied on a lot of pre-recorded video lessons in order to support our students' learning, This year, the majority of our learning is taking place via strong live remote lessons. Students are required to attend these live lessons just like they would school. We take attendance, and students are receiving credit for participation towards their grades, just like they would during in-person school. So we are currently in our third week of this school year, and we have been super impressed and excited to engage with our students and families in a virtual way, and are certainly hopeful that we will be able to all be together in person at some point in the near future. So here at Brooke, we really believe in this philosophy of great teaching closing the achievement gap. We believe that teacher quality is the biggest lever to student success. So we really put all of our resources and energy and time into creating a culture where teachers are really supported and teaching is really revered as a profession. And so in terms of what that would look like if you were to, pop into one of our classrooms, you would definitely see a lot of putting the heavy lifting on students. We really want our kids to feel challenged in school, and we know that in order to do that, we need to be able to support them as people and really know them as individuals and learners. And so we know that by building those really strong relationships with our kids, we are going to be able to really build their identity as high achievers throughout the year as well. And so because we have this really big emphasis on teacher development and teacher support and providing excellent teachers for our students, we created the Associate Teacher Program over a decade ago here at Brooke Charter Schools. We know that great teachers are made, not born. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a program that was a year-long school-based teacher preparation program that would help empower our associate teacher corps members to become really successful lead teachers after that year. We know that it is so important for our students to have the best teachers, and we really want to make sure that no teacher is put in front of a classroom of students before they are fully prepared to support 100% of their kids. And so the Associate Teacher Program really helps ensure that our students are consistently having access to highly trained and highly effective teachers. And the program has been incredibly successful at this over the last 10 plus years. Currently, almost 40% of our current Brooke staff started out as associate teachers here. 2 out of 5 of our current principals are former associate teachers. So the program is really a proven success at preparing aspiring teachers to, lead in their own classrooms at Brooke and to, move into leadership positions beyond that as well. So I really believe that our associate teacher program is effective because of several different components that I think really make us unique. First of all, we have a gradual release model for our associate teachers. And basically that just means that the very beginning of the school year, associates are spending a lot of their day observing lead teachers, slowly taking on increasing amounts of classroom instruction by leading different portions of lessons and getting feedback from their mentor teachers while they're doing that. By the spring, adequately progressing associate teachers are teaching for full days, they're teaching for full weeks. So this really individualized, gradual approach ensures that associate teachers always feel confident and prepared and supported while they are taking on teaching responsibility and getting that hands-on experience that we know is the most effective way to learn how to teach. In addition, associate teachers get a lot of professional development. Associate teachers, just like lead teachers, receive over 300 hours of professional development over the course of the year. In addition to the professional development that associate teachers attend with lead teachers and other staff each week, associate teachers also attend weekly seminars focused on the fundamentals of classroom management and instruction that are targeted just towards associate teachers to support our associate teachers in their goals in the classroom. And lastly, what I think is one of the best parts of our program is just this individualized mentoring aspect. Associates are always placed in a classroom with a highly effective mentor teacher. Mentors are able to provide consistent observations, coaching, monthly evaluations, and all of the feedback that associate teachers receive over the year is linked to a rubric that outlines essential skills and a timeline for mastery. So associate teachers always have a really clear sense of what they're doing doing really well and what they still need to work on in order to be ready to take on their own classroom the following year. So here at Brooke Charter Schools, 93% of our students identify as Black or Latinx. And so we know that it's really important to equip a racially diverse staff to set high expectations for our students and to deliver culturally competent instruction to our kids. We believe that by doing that, we can aim to counteract the pervasive presence of societal racism that so many of our students encounter as a condition of their daily lives. So we really believe that great teachers of color have such a unique contribution to make in the ways that they serve students, uphold a culture of achievement, build strong staff culture. And we also know it's really important for students to have a diverse staff and see people who look like them as teachers and as mentors who share their lived experiences. And so our Associate Teacher Corps really seeks to attract and develop a diverse group of aspiring teachers. And currently 78% of our Associate Teacher cohort, both last year and this year, identifies as teachers of color. So, as a network that values teachers, we want to make sure that we are also providing competitive compensation to all of our staff here, including our associate teachers. So in this position, you would receive a full salary. That salary ranges from $37,000 to $40,000. Depending on your campus placement, just because our campuses have slightly different hours across them. You would also receive full benefits. And then we do also have an option for an associate teacher scholarship. This is an option that you are welcome to apply for at any point throughout the application process. The link is found on our website and in our job application as well. Essentially, this scholarship was just created for candidates who are coming into the program who have faced financial hardship, maybe coming in with a lot of student loan debt. If you apply for and are awarded an associate teacher scholarship, then it's an extra approximately $13,000 that is added on to your base salary for the year, which puts your salary pretty close to that of a first-year lead teacher. And so the idea behind having the scholarship is that we want to make sure that financial hardship is never a deterrent for somebody wanting to enter the teaching profession and wanting to make sure that they really get that training and that support in order to feel successful in the teaching profession. And so that is an additional option to support that salary that all associate teachers are already earning. So if you are hearing all of this so far and you are feeling like this could potentially be a great fit for you, just wanted to kind of go over what we are looking for and also just the steps of the hiring process. So you do need to have completed your bachelor's degree. Either you have completed it already or you will have completed it by next July. So if you are a senior in college right now who is on track to complete your bachelor's degree in the spring of 2021, then you would absolutely qualify to apply for this position. We are definitely looking for people who are really mission aligned with our school, who are going to bring a strong growth mindset to our team and really appreciate feedback, seek out feedback, use feedback as a means to grow. And lastly, really looking for candidates who have an interest in teaching as a career, who are going to take the skills that they gain in this program and really use those skills to have a positive impact in their own classrooms for years to come. So the steps of the process are pretty straightforward. Our application is found online, and Nicole can also drop a link to that application in the chat as well if you want to be able to check that out. The application is pretty straightforward. You just need to fill out some basic information, attach a resume. A cover letter is optional if you would like to add that. And then we do have a short application response. I definitely encourage you to be thoughtful in this application response. I always tell candidates this is one of the most important parts of the application. It doesn't need to be super long, but this is really where we start to get a sense of if you will be a good fit for our school. So definitely encourage people, if you are going through that application, to take some time and put some thought into that application response so that your application can really stand out when we're reviewing those. After that application is submitted, if you move on to the next round, you would go into a phone interview with myself. From there, we are hosting virtual in-person interviews this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is generally a half-day virtual interview that helps you just get a better sense of our school and if our school is the right fit for you. From there, we move on to reference checks and to the offer stage. So I am very excited at this point to be able to move into our Q&A panel with two of our former associate teachers here at Brooke who are back this year at our Brooke Mattapan campus, moving into their own classrooms and continuing to take on these leadership roles after successfully going through the associate teacher program here with us. So we are going to be hearing from Dara McLaughlin and Ray Tata. We are going to be looking actually at a recording of a Q&A that I did with them at the very end of last year. I wanted to make sure that they were able to reflect at the end of the year and have those thoughts to get to share with you all. So I'm going to be sharing a short video where they will be talking a little bit more about their experiences in the associate teacher program and giving some advice for aspiring associate teachers as well. Hey, Dara.
Hey, hello, Sadie. Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Hello, hello.
so good to see you all. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm really excited to have you on here and be able to share a little bit more about our program and about your experience at Brooke.
So excited to get to talk about Brooke and our kids and this program. I'm just so excited to get to talk about what we did this year. It was just such a great year as an AT. So thanks for having me.
Wonderful. That's so great to hear. And so, yeah, I would love to just start with both of you by hearing a little bit more about your background and what brought you to the associate teacher program and made you want to apply. And Dara, we can go ahead and get started by hearing from you.
Awesome. So I was studying sociology and elementary education at the University of Rhode Island and graduated this time last year. During my time at URI, I studied elementary education, as I said, so I was able to do a few student teaching practicums, which really instilled my passion for education, and I knew I really wanted to be a teacher. In the summer, going into my senior year, I was able to do a teaching fellowship called Generation Teach in Providence. And this teaching fellowship just really solidified my passion for educational equity, closing the achievement gap, specifically working in urban education. After this experience, I was able to connect with Sadie, and I learned about our student teaching associate teacher program. And every moment I spent just researching Brooke, and I was just always emailing Sadie because I just was so excited by this school that I felt like I aligned with the vision so much, and I was so passionate about what Brooke stands for and the work that we do here. So I really just was loving Brooke, and after getting to speak with Sadie, I did my application and got to begin my program here last year.
Great. And Ray, would love to hear from you. I know you come from a unique background since you are also a Brooke alum and attended Brooke as a student as well.
Yeah, so as Sadie said, I'm a Brooke alum, and essentially my family is a Brooke family. Both my sisters have gone to Brooke. My second oldest sister, who is now in UMass Amherst, graduated from Brooke, and then my youngest sister is going into 8th grade academy next year. So we got a lot of Brooke pride and Brooke bias. But when I went, it was just, I loved how much my education was really put on me, and I learned so much. I grew so much going to Brooke, and then I went to private Catholic school, and that was a blast. And then when I went to college, I actually went to college in the mindset that I was going to go for law school and become a prosecutor or a defender or something like that in the law realm. But after my sophomore year, I realized it didn't feel fulfilling. I felt very bored. I didn't like it. And I was looking at avenues of like teaching, because a lot of my teachers inspired me throughout my years, and I loved how much they made me grow. And I love seeing how much young kids grow when they get a proper education. So I was actually told by previous teachers, Ms. Cardozo and Mr. Freeman, who are still part of Brooke to this day, and they pointed me to the AT program. I signed up with Sadie. I graduated last year, and I was able to start the program, and it's been a blast ever since. I've learned so much. It's such a shell shock because I don't have any teaching experience except from like teaching kids how to swim as a lifeguard, but that's not much. And it's just been so fun learning all these new skills.
Yeah, that's so great to hear, and love that you come from that Brooke family, like you said. That's awesome. And so I would love to hear, starting with you, Dara, just about what you know now that you wish you'd known when starting your associate teacher year. If any advice that you would give to yourself, or give to candidates who might be considering the program or going into the program, what do you wish that you had known starting your associate teacher year?
There's a few things that come to mind. First of all, I just didn't realize how much of a family that I would become with the other associate teachers. We became we are such a close-knit team. And we have a really challenging job, but it's amazing. And we all love it. We're all so, aligned to this vision that we're really passionate about, and we're all just there for each other. So I didn't realize going into my, summer training that this was going to be like a family to me. And it's been so wonderful to become so close with the other associate teachers. Ray and I are both at Brooke Mattapan, and both of us and the two other associate teachers who we're currently associate teachers for this school year, we're all transitioning to new roles at the same campus next year. So I'm so glad that we had each other this year, and I know we're going to continue to be such a close, tight-knit team next year as we transition to our new roles at Brooke Mattapan.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that, like you said, teaching can be definitely challenging. And so having that group of people that can support you and are going through the same things that you're going through is really important to keep in mind. Ray, what about you? What do you wish you had known before starting the associate teacher year?
Well, it's like three things, but they're three things Sadie have told us about already when starting the AT program. So what I wrote down was like time management, getting a good notebook to taking dedicated notes for certain things, and then learning about the online stuff of it all. So like Dropbox and emails and everything like that. And like just to do shorts for each. So when it comes to time management, one thing for an AT is like you have to observe other classrooms, but also like setting aside that time to not only watch your mentor, but then also watch the other teachers and like see how it is in every grade level. Because for us this year, like we went into a lot of different classrooms and taught a lot of different grade levels. So taking that time to observe like from kindergarten all the way to seventh grade is really important, because you don't know where you'll be one day. And that also goes hand in hand with notes. So I would recommend for all of you that apply, and if you get the position, get like a 3-subject or 4-subject notebook, one for like your classroom, for ATPD, and for everything like that. So you have it all organized. So that way, when you step into a classroom, if you've observed that teacher, you have like what the standards are in the classroom and how things work. And then finally, just like learning how Dropbox and everything works, because I didn't realize how much everything is already saved and in Dropbox. So if you have a few minutes and you want to like check unit plans, or if you want to check something online in our Dropbox, figure out how that all works. And it honestly gives you better footing on how, like, when you run a classroom for a day, like where you need to go to get all the materials.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think like being really on top of your organization from the start is so helpful as an associate teacher and as a lead teacher as well. And so, Dara, I'd love to hear, like, reflecting on this last year. I know we're still not quite all the way through it, but I'd love to just hear from you, like, what is one of the most important things that you feel like you learned throughout the program?
This is a really difficult question, just because I feel like I've learned so much. I've just been such a sponge, and I've had the opportunity to learn from so many amazing teachers. So it's really hard to decide, but I think if I could choose one thing, it would be what I've learned from all the teachers in our school, and from Sadie, and from you, and from my mentor teacher. She really instilled the value and significance of holding 100% of your students, of your scholars, to high expectations, whether that's academically, behaviorally. I just think I had never quite experienced. I had done some student teaching, but I had never seen a culture in which every classroom that you step into, you just know that every scholar in that class is being challenged and held to a high standard. I really, really believe that kids will jump as high as we say that they can. And if we say you're going to achieve this, they really will. And our scholars really do achieve such amazing things and really believe in themselves. So I think holding everyone to high standards and holding ourselves to high standards as educators is probably the number one lesson I've learned this year.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so valuable. Ray, what about you? What do you feel like the most important thing you learned was?
I think it was a really big thing. And it's like in the same vein as Dara's, it's really being patient and really knowing what it means to have that patience. Because like for me personally, I'm a very strict judge on myself on like how I perform and how I do. And like, I think that's why it's important when, especially when you teach a class for the first time and you think you do really bad or like in any aspect, it's just being able to step back and take a breather and just like really reflect on everything, which is why like I'm so grateful to both Sadie and my mentor as well, because I could ask them anything. Like I could show them my notes, I could debrief with them about how a class went, and then I would get that feedback and I would either like implement it immediately or I would try to figure out where I could put it. But you know, the great thing about the program is just like it's all paced very well, and you yourself have to just be patient and really put it all in like different places and understand where it will work. And like that was the biggest lesson I got this year.
Yeah, I think that's great. You definitely have to go easy on yourself, I think, as you're learning to become a teacher and use those support systems around you. And so I'm sure that you guys have like so many highlights from this year in terms of working with students and families. And I know, like you said, you got to work as an associate teacher with students across so many different grade levels, which is just amazing. But I would love to hear, starting with you, Dara, just like one specific highlight of working with students and families this year.
Awesome. So this is something I'd love to talk about. There's so many highlights. Like you said, it's so incredibly difficult to choose, but something that jumps out to me is one student in my mentor teacher's homeroom. She really struggled with writing. She just didn't feel really confident in herself as a writer, and she kind of carried that, she like had that identity that she had carried with her, that she was not a good writer. And over the course of the first few weeks of school, it was really difficult for her to feel down about herself and her writing. But we really formed a really close relationship just from the start. And this relationship allowed me to really hold her to really high expectations and she saw that as a form of me caring about her. So she knew when we were really demanding high quality work from her, it was because we cared so much about her. Something that I just loved that she did was she even voluntarily stayed in for recess, or she would stay in and work with me during any free time because she was so dedicated to improving her writing. And eventually one day she really finished an essay that she was so proud of. She couldn't believe she had typed a whole page. She was just beaming, and we printed it out instantly, and we took it around to our assistant principal, her other teachers from other years. We took it around the school, and we printed out her first essay as well. So you could see the first one was like 2 sentences, and she really struggled with it, and now she had this fantastic long essay. And we took pictures of her standing with both essays to show that, you know, in a matter of a few weeks with all that hard work, to see right before her eyes, you know, how much she had improved. We called her mom. I think we like FaceTimed her in to look at it during like recess that day. And it was just such a great feeling. You could tell that she really, really had felt like she was now a good writer. And she even said out loud, like, I am good at writing. And it was just the best feeling. I left the building like beaming that day. And we taped up her essays to compare to right by her desk. And it wasn't to say she didn't struggle with writing again, but it was always an awesome reminder for her that, you know, she has come so far and she'll continue to come so far. So that was really a special moment for me this year.
That's amazing. That's so great. Ray, what about you? What's one highlight that sticks out for you?
It's so similar, but I'm gonna give a different one because this is I really love. So as an AT, sometimes what we have to do is something called homework support, where once a week, one AT will stay in the afternoon and help students who need help with their life work. And sometimes like students go involuntarily because they just haven't been consistent with their life work, but other times teachers recommend that students stay after school with us if they need extra homework support. And I have two students. One was in third grade, and then she has a sister who's in kindergarten. And
Love that.
I know Dara knows what I'm talking about. 'Cause they're but it's never the case. So they got recommended to go, and it's not because they weren't doing their life work. It's just they were having trouble completing it and being able to get it done because their mother speaks Spanish mostly at home. So they're very much used to speaking Spanish more, and they're not used to all the English yet. So they're starting with us, and then I have them, and I love seeing how much they work and just being able to help them like translate through the Spanish and English and help them get their work done more was just great to see. And over the next couple months while they're there, their teachers are both continually telling me that like they've been improving so much in class, they're having so much fun with the work now, they're really getting it, and they really, really enjoy it. But like the biggest highlight to me is whenever they just like see me and they're just like, are you going to be doing life work support today? Are you staying with us? And I'm like, I would love to, but I only got once a week. But it's a great like pride and joy for me to know that they're like improving in the work, but they're also just still loving the work, and they just taking it all the way to the top, and they're achieving so much.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I love how you bring up how, working with students, even outside of the classroom setting can have such a big impact on their lives throughout the school day as well. That's really great to hear. And I know you brought up like helping out with homework after school as being part of, an associate teacher's responsibilities. I would love to just hear from you, Dara, like what a typical day looks like for an associate teacher. Obviously before schools were closed, what did a typical day in the life look like for you?
So being an associate teacher is the best because your day, you get to be everywhere and you really get to foster such close bonds with every single student in the school. And I think a lot of that started with just our associate teacher morning role. So I would start the day typically with my morning duty, and Ray would have similar duty just on a different floor. We would stand at the top of the stairs and we get to greet every scholar as they come in the door. And it became one of my favorite times of the day just because I got to see the kids coming in, and I really, from the first week of school in August, just got to see so many faces, learn so many names. So I always loved this morning duty that we got to do as an associate teacher. After our morning duty, I would typically go back to my mentor teacher's classroom that we shared together. And oftentimes towards the beginning of the year, I would observe her doing morning meeting and setting the tone for the day, and start observing her morning lessons, reading and writing. As the year went on, though, I would start taking over, and sometimes I would come in and lead morning meeting. I would lead reading and writing, and towards the end of the year, I would take over pretty much the whole morning if I was able to. And part of my day as an associate teacher also in the morning when I'm not in my mentor teacher's room or not teaching a lesson with her would be I get to go observe. So some days I would just think, you know what, I really want to see kindergarten today. And I got to do that, which was so cool. I feel like in my student teaching roles in college, I was in my classroom that I was assigned to, and I didn't really get much of a perspective of the rest of the school, whether that was just the other teacher who teaches the same grade as my mentor teacher to see their style, or middle school or kindergarten, first grade. So I would always bounce around to different classrooms to observe different grades, different subjects, and I would have the freedom to do that in the morning. During lunch, this was also grew to be one of my favorite times of the day. At Mattapan, associate teachers would supervise tables during lunch. So we got to do that during K through 2 lunch, which is kindergarten, first and second. And then we'd also do it for the 3rd through 5th lunch. This just became my favorite time of the day because like I said, for morning greeting, I got to know literally every single scholar in the whole building. I think every single associate teacher knows every kid by name. They know their siblings, they know their parents. We know their favorite food. We know everything about them because we get to spend so much awesome time with them in these times like lunch. So we would go to lunch, and usually after I would come back and I would either jump into another lesson that maybe I would be teaching, or I would go around and do more observations, which was so fantastic. I would get to choose where I wanted to go, like I said. And I'd usually end my day is all the teachers in K through 2 and the associate teachers would have a bus room that they were assigned to. And this was just another awesome opportunity to get to know kids in other grades and other classes. So I had a group of kindergarten, first and second grade scholars who I would take out to the bus, and we would play games in the bus room at the end of the day. And it was just the best way to end your day every day with all these kids who you got to form such close relationships with. And just like Ray said, some days I might have homework help after school, or I might go up to my class and debrief with my mentor about certain lessons, and she'd get to give me feedback right away on different lessons I had taught that day. So our days were never quite the same. We would always be bouncing around because, like I said, we have that freedom to really choose where we want to go for a different observation. So it was always fun and always on our feet, and I loved it.
Yeah, I think that definitely is one of the most amazing part of being an associate teacher is getting to, like you said, build relationships with literally every single student in the school and their families, and really getting to support them in that way. I think is just so special and so unique to that position and the program. And I know you guys have both at this point mentioned your mentor teachers and the relationships that you have had with them. And so Ray, I would just love to hear a little bit more about your mentor teacher relationship with Kevin, and how they helped you, grow and develop as a teacher over the year.
Oh man, what awesome thing can I not say about Kevin that isn't already said by probably every teacher in the building? But like genuinely working with Kevin has been really, really amazing, because not only does he have all the Brooke teacher qualities of making sure his students are kept to a high standard, that his classroom environment is just so welcoming and so warm, and just if I had a child, I wouldn't want them in Kevin's classroom or any teacher's classroom for that matter. But it's also just being able to just chat about anything and just be relaxed and being able to ask him any question, and he just is always so supportive and has probably the best advice ever. But it also just it's great to see from another male teacher perspective, because I definitely had my own idea of just because a lot of students aren't used to a lot of male teachers, because there's a lot of female teachers working, how that's taken. And I was able to see how he was able to handle with a lot of our female students, how he's still just so open and calm and just listening to any issues. And just with a lot of the males too, they get comfortable, but they understand it's just that strictness is still there no matter what. So I got a lot of great advice, and I got to see a lot of how he handles those situations. So yeah, it was just wonderful overall.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. And I think you're right. They're not only there to support you, but they're also there as a role model for you to get to see how their classrooms are run really effectively. And I think that's really important in developing as a teacher as well. And so I know we're running a little bit out of time. And so just kind of want to wrap up by hearing, from each of you, what, keeps you at Brooke going forward into next year, and any last minute advice that you would give to anyone who's considering the program or considering applying. And we can start with you, Dara.
So what keeps me at Brooke moving forward, there's so many things, but I really think it comes down to the culture that we have as a school. Being an associate teacher, you do get the opportunity to go into every single class, and the amazing culture that we have of setting high expectations for all of our kids, absolutely just loving each and every one of our kids. And, where this is a building where every adult working there, you can rely on and depend on as a teammate, as a support system, as someone who you just know wholeheartedly believes in our mission, wholeheartedly believes in helping every single one of our scholars, achieve the world. And I just love how our school has that culture. So that's really what keeps me here. I know every teacher is so dedicated to helping all of our kids, not just the kids in their class, but our whole community. And just tips for applying, I feel like really just remember to be your authentic self. A lot of teaching is finding your own style and being your authentic self in the classroom. So I think really letting your own self just shine through, your personality shine through. And also part of being a really excellent teacher I've learned is taking time to reflect and just think it's okay if you're not the perfect teacher anymore. Not anymore, a perfect teacher yet. We have a really hard job and we're always learning. So I think taking time to reflect on what do you want to grow, what's your goals for your own development, and really seeking like feedback with an open mindset. I think that's my biggest piece of advice.
That's so great. Yeah. So Ray, what about you? What keeps you at Brooke, and any advice you would give to people applying?
Well, we already know I have a lot of Brooke bias because of my history, but on a genuine note, especially being on the other side as a teacher now, it's just given me so much greater appreciation and pride in knowing that I'm still able to be a part of the school and just continue to spread that message that just like we want to close the achievement gap, and just seeing all the teachers put in that work as well. And I think just like Dara touched on, I think like the Brooke family is a super supportive family no matter who it is. Like, and definitely apply because even like Sadie, we don't see Sadie every day and we rarely talk to her sometimes, but she is still open arms about everything, answer any question. She'll be there when we need it. And that goes for like any teacher there as well. But I also think like the best advice I got, and it was from my mentor teacher as well, is just like, it's always going to be a learning process. Like no matter what, you should never think you have all the answers. This is still so much growth happening every single year. And like, you're just going to be better every year as it goes. Like, honestly, if I looked at myself like a year ago when I started the program, I don't think I'd recognize myself at this point anymore because it's so much growth.
Yeah.
But also just like, and also set those limits for yourself too. You know, like when you're at work, do work at the school. When you're at home, take that time, like Dara said, to reflect and relax and just be brief for the day and just like, set those lines.
Yeah, that's such great advice from both of you. And this was so wonderful hearing from you both about your experiences. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. We are so lucky to continue to have you both at Brooke Mattapan next year in lead teaching capacities. And so just really, really excited to have you guys as part of our team. And so thank you all so much for joining in and answering questions today. All right, everybody. I hope that was helpful for you to be able to hear directly from associate teachers about their experience here at Brooke. I think it's great to hear from someone who has that firsthand knowledge, who has been a part of the program and who's continuing to be an amazing asset to our school. Thank you for everyone who dropped questions in the chat and the Q&A. So many good questions in there. Hopefully we were able to get to yours. And if not, we will try to hang out for a couple of minutes after the session ends as well to answer any final questions. So if you are interested in joining our team for the following school year, I definitely encourage you to apply by our first priority deadline on October 16th. Our applications are already live. I know Nicole dropped a link in the chat already for that application, and she will definitely share that again. But definitely encourage you to get those applications in before this first priority deadline coming up in a few weeks. I think that we've answered this in the chat a little bit, but this position would begin on July 19th of 2021, and relocation to Boston would be expected since we are anticipating that we should be able to be in person fully at that time. Lastly, before you go, just a heads up that if you think this program sounds great, or you know somebody who you think would be a great fit for this program, if you refer someone to teach with us and they get hired, you receive $500, whether you end up with the job with us or not. So definitely encourage you all to spread the word about the program, about our schools. And as always, definitely feel free to follow up directly with me. My contact information and a link to set up a info call with me can be found on our website. So definitely encourage you to follow up if you have any additional questions. And thank you guys so much for coming. We will go ahead and wrap up there. If you have not already, please make sure that you check in with the handshake link that Nicole has been popping in the chat. Would love to be able to follow up with you directly if you attended the event today. So please make sure that you check into that before you head out today. And Nicole and I will plan to hang out here for a couple minutes longer just in case there's any last minute questions before we wrap up today. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.